Hi, I'm Caroline, and I've created a lot of things, but mostly I've created a life I love. Join me on my journey as a podcaster, business owner, and mom as I try to create all the things. Welcome to the Caroline Creates podcast. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Caroline Creates podcast. Today, instead of talking about podcasting, just podcasting, I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about my life a little bit and what it looks like. I get a lot of questions about how I do it all. I don't do it all, first of all, and I don't do some things well, second of all. But I have a few things that are very important to me in my life, and I've tried to build my business in a way that allows me to do them. And so I thought we could chat a little bit about that. So a little bit about me. Besides the fact that I'm a podcast editor and producer, I'm a mom. I have two daughters. They are 7 and 4. And my 7-year-old is just incredibly bright. And when she was about 3 or 4, my husband and I started having conversations about homeschooling. We knew that we wanted something different for our daughter. We didn't want traditional school. And we looked at a lot of options and really just felt like homeschooling was the best for us. And you know, that's the most important thing, is that you do what's best for you and for your child. So we decided to homeschool. And at the time, I had a stationery company. I designed greeting cards and stationery, and I was spending a lot of time doing that. And then we started the podcast. Our podcast is Creative Biz Rebellion. And I started to notice very quickly that, me being in my office all day designing or packaging or, that kind of stuff. And then I would also go to the National Stationery Show for about 10 days every year in May. And I just realized that it was not working for me and for the life that I wanted. In fact, my daughter was in pre-K. We did do pre-K 1 year, and they had a little school play, and I missed it because I was in New York. And I remember the whole time I was in New York just incredibly regretting my decision to go to New York and incredibly regretting being there and not being with my daughter. And I knew that something had to change, but I just wasn't really sure what that was. And if you want to go back and listen to the welcome episode of the podcast, you will hear my story about how I got into podcasting. So being able to have a job that really doesn't have to leave my house has been amazing, because it does allow me the time to be with my kids in the capacity that I want to be with them, which is pretty much all the time. I want to be with them all the time. I love my kids. I'm not one of those people who's like, send them off so I can, go out. I'm like, I don't want to go out because I want to be with my kids. It's really kind of terrible, actually. So we homeschool. So my days are pretty jam-packed. Sometimes it seems really overwhelming, but, I just keep reminding myself that this is kind of the phase we're in right now, too, because I am hustling to grow a business, but I'm also, in the throes of elementary school homeschooling, which requires a lot more hands-on and things like that. So anyways, basically, I get up early every morning, and I am not a morning person. This is something new that I started doing a while back, and since we moved, it's been even harder to do. I'm just so tired all the time, and I don't know if it's just the stress of the move or what, but I try to get up at around 6 a.m. every morning, and I try to work for an hour or two before the girls get up. Usually they get up around 7:30, 8 o'clock, sometimes 8:30, but generally we try to start school by 9:30. So I like to have them out of bed and moving around at 8. So for me, getting up at 6 and trying to squeeze in some work is really important. It's also a really good time for me to kind of judge what I have to do that day and kind of plan my day. So once we start school, I pretty much don't work at all. I might process some audio or do some tasks that don't require much of me while we're doing school. But when we are doing school, I try to be 100% present doing that with them. We do school till about 11:30. You heard me right. That's the beauty of homeschooling, is that you can fit what a kid does at school all day, the whole day that they're at school. You can really fit that into a couple hours, which is kind of amazing. We do school, and then there's also independent activities that they have in the afternoons. reading, handiwork, geography might be something they can do by themselves, things like that. So anything that doesn't require like me reading or teaching, we save for the afternoon. So at like 11:30, I shoo them out the door for playtime outside, and then we have lunch. And then they usually have a free time after lunch, so they either play outside or play inside. And at that time, if they are playing independently and don't require much of me, I will work. And so I will sit down and usually try to get a few things done, maybe edit an episode or two. And then at around 2 o'clock, they do quiet reading time, and I will read to them. We do a read aloud, and then the little one will hopefully take a nap, and my older will do quiet activities, and I will work. And then I usually work till about 4:30, and then we will do, an afternoon activity, either poetry tea time, or maybe, if it's Friday, we'll just pop down from the TV and start watching movies. And then I generally try not to work after that. Now, the honest truth, though, is in this kind of season of my business where it's growing like crazy and requires a lot of me, I may end up working in the evening. So I try not to every night. Like I try to just do it a couple nights a week and then keep some nights open, because when my husband gets home, like I want to be able to spend time with him and talk to him and not feel like I have to like just turn on the TV and ignore him. And so I do try to keep it, in my days. And that hasn't really been working out so great this summer because the kids are like on summer schedule and we did camps and I'm running them everywhere. So it's been interesting trying to like adapt back to that schedule, especially after our crazy move. So that's kind of my day in a nutshell. It's really busy. It's kind of funny because I think that people think because I'm so like technology oriented because I do podcasts, I think like in my ideal world, I would be like a homesteader and would be outside and, working in the garden and things like that all day. In our house in Nashville, I had a garden and that was like my sanctuary. And I haven't started a garden here in Colorado just yet, but we are getting chickens. And I have an obscene love of succulents. So I have succulents all over my house. I'm constantly watering, replanting, taking care of. In fact, I'm probably going to go do that after I get done recording this episode. I got a new aloe plant that needs a new home. And we love music. Music is a huge part of our home. We constantly have music on. The kiddos are learning ukulele and piano. I play a little bit of guitar. No, you will never see a video of me playing guitar. I also play piano. And then I love to read, and one of my big goals has been to read more. And truth be told, I don't read anything of much substance. I really love to read young adult novels. So like I was the girl that, was in line at Barnes & Noble's to get Twilight. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So it can be really tricky, like trying to balance all these things. I think when you are growing a business, it can be really easy to not like for all of those things to just kind of go by the wayside and to not do them anymore. The first thing that's like gone in this like season of growing my business has been yoga, which is terrible because I need to be doing yoga every day. I was a ballet dancer and I had a really horrible injury in college, and for the longest time nobody knew what was wrong with me. And then I finally found a doctor who figured it out. It was actually my father-in-law. He's an orthopedic surgeon. He saw me walking one day and he was like, "Why do you walk so funny?" And he was able to figure it out. I actually have femoral acetabular impingement in my hip, and I have had surgery once before. I might be looking at another surgery, but I'm definitely looking at a hip replacement, and I already have arthritis. And when I am not consistently active, it's like everything just seizes up in my leg. And so I was doing yoga every day, and it was amazing, and it was wonderful, and I felt awesome. And then we moved, and everything went crazy. And which I guess I need to do a whole episode on the move because it's like this whole story in and of itself. But the first thing that I like have kind of dropped in this effort to stay on top of things and to get back into the swing has been yoga. And I can't even remember the last time I did yoga, which is really sad. So I'm definitely going to be like trying to incorporate that more. It seems like a lot, and it is a lot. And I do a lot of things to stay organized, and I used to not be an organized person, and I found that it's really important for me to like force myself to be that person, and that includes keeping a planner. I have a pretty robust Trello going on. If you have never used Trello, I highly recommend it. It's in like an organizational system on your computer. My Trello boards are my life. I also think too, what allows me to kind of do all of these things and do them successfully is having that separation. So knowing that like when I'm playing a game with my kids, I'm not on my phone answering emails. When I am sitting down to work, I'm not also like trying to entertain my kids. Everything has to be separate. And I think that's also important for my kiddos to see that I can put something down and walk away from it and spend quality time with them. And that means a lot to me. In fact, those last 2 weeks, my kids have been in summer camp, and one girl did camp one week, one girl did camp the other week. And I made sure that there were special days in there where I wasn't working, I didn't have my computer with me, and we just did something together, whatever they wanted to do. My little one wanted to go to lunch. She wanted to go to Chipotle. So we went to Chipotle and we sat outside and we had lunch, and it was so great. My oldest wanted me and her to walk around the zoo because my other daughter was in zoo camp, and we had so much fun. Honestly, it was one of the best days of my life. And my kids have changed so much in the last few months because of the move. They've grown up a lot. And having that time with them one-on-one was just so eye-opening and special to me. And I mean, I can't even explain it. I don't even have words for how amazing it was. And it really like made me recenter and think about, what's important and how important it is that as I do grow my business, that I grow it in a way that allows me the time that I need to be with them. So yeah, I think being organized, being intentional, having, giving yourself time for you, doing things that mean something to you, and having the space to do them, and not feeling like you have to hustle all the time, even though you are in a season of hustle, is really, really key. And that's really how I do it all. There are definitely days where I wake up and I'm frustrated because I feel like one thing didn't get enough of my attention. And there's days where I feel like I've conquered the world and I've done all the things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got this, I can do this. And unfortunately, those days are few and far between. And more often than not, I end the day feeling icky about something. And recently I posted out to my friends. I felt like homeschooling wasn't going well. We had just moved and been through like months of an ordeal. And all of my friends were like, what you need is a break. Like, you need to take a break from homeschooling. You need to, regroup and like chill out. And that's what we've been doing. And it's been so good. And sometimes you just have to do that. You have to stop and give yourself the space to say, okay, what do I want my schedule to look like? How are we going to make this work? Let's get back down to basics. Let's make sure that we're getting these 3 things done every day and then start adding on to it. And so my encouragement to any mom out there who has her own business and wants to work from home and have her kids home with her is just take it a step at a time. Figure out what works best for you. Figure out what works best for your kids. And don't be afraid to just throw it all and start over, because that's what we're doing now. So yeah, that's me. That's who I am. That's my daily life. And it's such a huge part of what I do here. And it's such a huge part of my business. And it's such a huge part of creating a life that I love. Because if the life that I create doesn't serve my family in the best way, then there's no point in doing it, because at the end of the day, they matter more to me than any podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Go out and hug your loved ones, and be sure to get that yoga in every day. All right? Before you go, please head to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. I would love to hear from you. And to learn more about me and follow along my journey, head to www.carolinecreates.com. There you can also listen to episodes, watch YouTube videos, and find out more about my podcasting services. Thanks so much. Have a great day.